You haven't met him in a while, but let's check in on how the greatest football manager player in the world is faring on FM 21.
Hello. It's been quite some time. We've won hundreds of Champions Leagues, we've won titles and everything in between. But now I'm stuck in the Vanarama National League. And I need help. Professional help. Immediately. And for Football Manager too.
Oh no. That's not good.
Hey guys, today we are oh, wait. Yeah, the conspiracy theory is saying that I'm pretending to be the best FM player in the world. Well, those are far-fetched. Today we are talking about why it feels like you're getting stuck in your saves. A lot of this is happening in the English leagues, but it also happens around the world. Wherever you're managing in Football Manager, it is harder to climb league ladders than it has been in years past. This is, of course, except for the people that are in freaking Germany or to a lesser extent Poland. You have no rules, and if you're not making it to the top league rather quickly, then what's wrong with you? Not really. This game's never super easy, but there are no weird rules going on there that are hurting you. But in Football Manager, there are a lot of things that are making lower league saves harder this year, and as a result, we see forum posts like this hitting a brick wall at the English lower leagues. And this echoes something that I get in my DMs a lot, something that we end up talking about on stream every once in a while, and something that I had to help this guy try and overcome. But why is this happening? What do you need to look out for that is stalling everybody's progress trying to climb up through the lower leagues? And the first part of this is something I already talked about with Ben, and that's that the work permit system that you really get into once a save gets going in England is very restrictive. And the post-Brexit stuff where you can only have 17 foreign players obviously hurts as well, because any player that you're already signing from any English league is going to be tremendously overpaid. These work permits are brutal, and as you can see from the rules that were already displayed there, that the position of the league and all these various factors that are nearly impossible to predict are thrown into the complication of these lower league saves. And the more organized and sophisticated the league system that you are playing in is, that means the higher paid the players are relative to their ability. England being at the top of this, kind of specter, and dudes from Africa and South America kind of being at the bottom of the specter, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, in like Colombia and not even Uruguay, like Ecuador and Peru, those types of countries where guys are incredibly underpaid for their ability level. So naturally, if you want to improve, if you want to clear that threshold, what people have done in the past, what you and I have always done in the past, is you go and you find players from these countries that are very underpaid, you increase their way, you bring them into these clubs like Slough Town. Who is in Vanarama? I took that quiz one time, and I think I got a few Vanarama teams on that quiz. I won in the National League. Oh, it's an alphabetical order. This is huge. But the forcing of you to engage with players that are already getting paid fair wages is making you compete with other teams that are also paying fair wages, and your ability to discover these players and bring them in is consistently blocked because their league reputation isn't good enough. Well, if their league reputation is good enough, you wouldn't want to buy them because, well, they're going to cost more and more money. The work permit's getting more complicated, obviously, is typically just an English thing, but it has really torpedoed a lot of people. It's not necessarily more complicated, but more difficult to sign that random dude from Finland who's going to turn everything around for you because he's better than the rest of your team combined. That can't happen as easily anymore. But there's also something that we don't talk about nearly as much in these sorts of videos, and that's that player personalities are becoming more and more advanced. And as a club rises incredibly quickly, if it does that in real life, what do you think is going to happen unless you've had some sort of sugar daddy investment? I'm on a boat! I'm on a boat! And Qatar's paying for it! Yeah! But if you're a team that rises incredibly quickly without that, players would naturally be skeptical of your ability to hold or maintain that kind of trajectory, and they are less likely to want to sign for you. Take this guy named Zhou Zhang, who is the Chinese Messi in this save. Well, we offered him transfers 2 and 3 years ago where he could have played in the top division in Portugal instead of being a rotational player for Lens in France. And because he is a player with high ambition. This is just not something that he wanted to do still. And so building up a club, even though we had the money and even though we were at the threshold, our reputation was not high enough and did not catch up fast enough in order to allow us to make this kind of signing. This is obviously something that this is also something that's exacerbated by these work permit issues and by foreign player limits and like weird ones that you get in Italy that are always there, where you can only sign 2 non-EU players a year and you're never quite clear if you've hit that threshold because it like adds to itself. I hate it. Like, what is this? This is gross. This is ugly. Why does this exist? In the lower leagues, it's just no non-EU players, and you have to have a minimum salary of 30,000 for whatever you need. Curveballs are thrown in there. The more advanced these personalities are getting on players, the more realistic these personalities are getting on players to not want to come play for your team, because those just get tinkered with and improved every year. You're running into problems. But there's a problem specific to this year that is making a lot of this stuff worse. Because what we've talked about so far are things that have already been there. What hasn't been there is the financial impact of COVID in the game. Now, in order to help offset this, fans were in the stands from day one on FM21, which is great. By 4 or 5 years into the game, the financial situation has essentially leveled out again. But as you start and try and push your way up through the leagues, this makes it harder for a couple of reasons. According to the official Football Manager sources, and as you've probably seen in your own Football Manager saves, the finances of the clubs were all impacted by COVID. And as with everything else, this seems to trickle down in a cascade of awfulness to the lower and lower levels. What do you need to change the state of your team? You need money. What do you now not have because of the different COVID stuff that has happened in the game? You do not have money. The lack of money and lack of more money than you would otherwise have might not sound super significant when you're a semi-professional team, but because it's worse than it was, your ability to make changes is worse than it was, inherently making lower league saves harder in Football Manager 21 than they were previously, because you're relatively less capable of changing your team's situation, because this whole financial screen is just nosediving south. This is coupled with the fact that the money at the top of the game gets bigger and bigger every year. So when you get into the championship, you are dealing with clubs coming down from the Premier League that have more and more money every year. According to the Deloitte Football Money League, every year up until COVID started to impact the bottom line of these teams, the revenue continued to accelerate upwards. Now this, unless you're in like Germany, doesn't really necessarily trickle down that well, which means each year as you play into Football Manager, there is this money that is just slightly increasing for these clubs at the top. And in FM21, this is the most severe that it's ever been. You couple that with the overall financial impact deadening your budget even more, but you don't have the ability to recover that budget. In 5 to 10 years, the clubs that are higher than you, that are playing in these areas where that budget's going to recover faster, gives you an even bigger disadvantage when you finally get into League 2, or you finally get into the Championship, or you finally get into Serie B, where you're going up against these teams that can actually get onto a field and not get washed away by some of the biggest teams in the world, because they're getting that trickle down money from those clubs. And you will see crazier and crazier balance sheets, and you can see that when you go to your league and you go to stats and team detailed, you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see your salary per year, and obviously in Portugal this is always going to be jacked up anyways, but you will see this in more and more leagues, those sorting leagues as I like to call them, where teams are coming down from great leagues and you are coming up from a completely different level of competition. The Championship is the one that always comes to mind. So the financial stuff and the law stuff is making lower league saves harder than ever. How can you combat this? Well, I've made some promising videos about how to scout when your scouts suck, and this old guide about lower league management in general. But these are some tips, and the first one is to improve your mentality in the game. Because a lot of people that message me or that come into the stream and they say, hey, this is happening, they are stuck because they fall into a pattern. Sometimes I feel like a Svengali. Football Manager is a thinking man's game, so not every tip is going to be click this and click that. If you're going to your scouting center and you're just signing the next 20, the next guy that's going to maintain the level of your team and not actively improve the level of your team, then that's your problem. Like, here's a good example on my Oriental Dragon team. This guy, Kaya Fernando, if he was under contract with me right now, he would play. He's versatile. He can play multiple positions. But would I want to invest a significant starter level salary in this player when he's not somebody that's going to take the team to the next level? He's just going to maintain the level the team is already at and crowd the position. No, of course not. Obviously, you probably could have told that from my tone. Like, I've got a very active tone, right? I don't even know what that means. And if you've watched videos before, which if you haven't, hi, there is a scouting filter that specifically deals with work permits. You have your work permit chance filter, which means you can search your entire player search for players that would fit a work permit, and obviously players that wouldn't. Well, for some reason that can't be implemented into your scouting assignments, it can obviously be used to prune the players that come in through your scouting assignments. And if you do have nationality or salary thresholds for whatever work permit you're trying to achieve, you can work those in to assigning your scouts. You can also go up on a scouting assignment to this little transfer type, go end of contract, and look for players that are about to come available for free. My Oriental Dragon save, I didn't sign anybody for actual money until I got all the way to Liga NOS. I built a team that could get there just by signing people that were free. And loans, of course. But you don't need me to sing to you about loans again. But there's also no substitute for good old-fashioned hard work. This is something that my little brother actually does all the time. Something that helps with work permits usually are national team appearances. So let's say the Asian Cup is going on, and we go to the Asian Cup and we see that Syria is playing. We go to the Syrian national team and we look for players without a club. Let's go to the World Cup qualification. We go to the national team and we're looking for players without a club. You find players without a club and then you offer them a trial. Now, January 2nd, this is actually a good time. It's a good time to be looking. Philippines national team. There we go. There's two guys in the Filipino national team. This guy's 18 years old. If you're a lower league team, you might consider picking this guy up. I have no idea why he's so well scouted, but he is. Or John Lucero. This guy would fit a work permit because he gets all this crazy playing time. You can go through all of these different national teams. This is what my brother does. You go through these national teams that would have a player, if they were free, that you would be able to afford, but they also get enough appearances for the national team that the work permit doesn't matter. Maybe a youth national team of someone like Ghana. You can find hidden gems in those types of places. Sometimes there's no substitute for just clicking around on your own, or that is the equivalent in game of just looking at box scores on the internet and going, does that guy have a club? Why no, Reginald? He doesn't. And then if you're, say, in the English League system again, you can go up to the Skybet Championship, find some teams that are good in the Skybet Championship, click on that club and go to team reports and just get a team report on the senior team. If you've only got a couple of scouts, maybe one or two, you usually always have at least one, at least a chief scout or something, you can send them to get team reports, and that is a heck of a lot faster than actually scouting something. If your scouts are terrible, instead of wasting time trying to figure out how good people are, you can do this not only to senior teams, but to youth teams. And if you find somebody that's available for loan or something, this gives you a very quick idea of how good they are compared to your best player at that position when you go to team report and then down to team depth chart. If you go to the player search as well, there are a million little things that you can do in here, and creativity is key. I'm sure that I haven't thought of a lot of the things you can do, but I've run through some of them on different videos, from going through international youth appearances and then looking for people that have played for an actually good country that's somewhere in your player search. You want to look for people with contracts expiring or that are expired or are under non-contracts, senior national team appearances for other national teams. You put your work permit filter on people that are actively listed for loan. Or if you've got the editor, you can just look at their current ability. And then there's some of the stuff that you can do with the board, which namely would be asking for some sort of affiliate club, and we'll get back to you shortly. Oh, amazing. And they say that the affiliate club's not a good idea. They will typically always say the affiliate club is not a good idea until you're professional. So if you're not a professional club, say you get stuck in the Vanarama National, or you get stuck in the Campeonato Nacional in France, which I really mispronounced.
Championnat National.
One of those leagues where you can be non-professional and be in the league. then this will not help you yet. But a senior affiliate can provide you free loan players, which at the very least can provide depth to make it through a long season, and at the best can obviously help carry your team. But no, you are not imagining it. Lower league saves are harder than they've ever been. So if you're pulling them off, congratulations. I'll see you on stream or on another video. Mazel tov!